So Knicks fans wanted the first pick. It's understandable. It meant either Zion or the best trade asset in the league, also Zion. But even so, they have the third pick now, and I think that puts them still in a pretty good position in terms of either drafting what we assume to be RJ Barrett, or trading the pick for Anthony Davis, or if you sign 2 max free agents, you could trade it for some other player because NBA stars become available all the time now. Seems that happens every offseason at this point. So they do still have a lot of options, and I guess we can go down each one of these. So the first thing I actually want to start with is just RJ Barrett as a player before we get into trade stuff and whatever. So he seems pretty good. I know his college season was a little disappointing overall because he didn't really know how to deal with not being the best player on his team and not being the primary ball handler and all that. But the skills are still there, right? He has the height, he has the handle, he has the creating abilities. It's just a matter of him confirming to everybody that he really knows how to run an offense. He can be a shooter, and he can not over dribble, and he can be effective in the pick and roll and all that stuff. But those are normal things for a dude who's 19 years old. Like, the upside with him is pretty real. And I mean, I've seen comparisons to like Jalen Rose, but a better version of Jalen Rose, so like a 6'7" dude who you can really run the offense through. That's a valuable person to have. So if the Knicks just end up drafting RJ Barrett because maybe they only get 1 max player this free agency, or they get no max players, which, you know, in some ways I understand could be viewed as a disaster, but in other ways it's like, okay, at least we have RJ Barrett who can be something to be excited over. You know, him and Mitchell Robinson probably being the 1-2 punch of the next decade or whatever for the Knicks. And yeah, that might sound a little depressing compared to Kyrie and Kevin Durant signing here, or Kevin Durant and Kemba or whoever. But just remember, you could have easily fallen to like the 6th pick or wherever Phoenix ended up at. So take this as a win nonetheless. So there's that. The next thing to get into is the trade season and all that. Anthony Davis being the big one. So the Knicks are in a solid position right now to trade for AD, depending on if the Pelicans are really up to the point of like, okay, we're going to trade this guy, because I mean, David Griffin's saying he wants to convince AD to stay, but when you look at the offer the Knicks can make, it's probably Mitchell Robinson, the 3rd pick, which is RJ Barrett, Alonzo Trier, who's, you know, okay, replaceable, yeah, but seems to be an NBA player. And then the Dallas picks, which are going to be very interesting, and we don't know where they're going to end up. Depends on Porzingis' health and whatever else. Now, I guess the Knicks do have other young players that I'm just going to mention for the sake of acknowledging their existence. I mean, Kevin Knox sucks, Dennis Smith sucks, Frank Ntilikina might be the worst player in the league. But even so, I think that's a solid offer. Is it the best offer available? I don't know, but when we look at some of the common teams popping up in these rumors, I mean, if Brandon Ingram didn't have the blood clot thing, then maybe the Lakers would have the best offer, because it's Ingram in the 4th pick, which is pretty damn good if you ask me. I would say that I'm probably higher on Brandon Ingram than the average non-Laker fan. But even so, I like him a lot. I think he's very versatile, the size is awesome, and all that stuff. But unfortunately, the health thing is now real, and that could be the thing that stops a trade from like that from happening. Because at that point, Kuzma in the 4th pick? I don't care about Kyle Kuzma if I'm the New Orleans Pelicans. So then we move on to the Celtics, other team that's always in here. I mean, number one, if Kyrie leaves, then maybe no offer for AD really comes. I mean, it would be an offer. It would just be a BS one where it's like Jaylen Brown and whatever. But I don't think you're going to get the Jason Tatum plus lottery pick plus something else that's pretty good offer from the Celtics, partially because all of their assets have kind of fallen off. I mean, the Grizzlies are probably going to end up being better than we thought because now they're going to have Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson. Although I guess if they trade Conley for young dudes, then maybe that could be their way of getting worse. I don't know what they're going to do. Tatum's stock is down. So all these things help the Knicks, if you ask me, to make an offer for Anthony Davis. So that's certainly good for them. And again, it comes back to the idea of, sure, they didn't get the number 1 pick, but they still got the 3rd pick, which is pretty damn good. Now, of course, there's always a chance some other team could step in here and make an offer. I've mentioned the Clippers a few times between Shea, Shamet, Gallo, Montrez, the Heat pick. They can make an offer. And of course, there's going to be other teams that you could think of if you just looked at all the teams in the league, but I'm not going to do that right now. But even so, the Knicks, I would say they're definitely in a position to trade for Anthony Davis. Now, that being said, should they really do that if they don't have other free agents coming? I mean, probably not, because at that point it's going to be Anthony Davis surrounded by a disaster, and then in 1 year he would leave, right? So that means Kevin Durant, Kyrie himself, Kyrie and somebody else, I don't know. Something like that has to happen for these guys. Obviously, they are banking on that. That is why they made the Porzingis trade, that and other reasons, but this was a big part of it. Clear all that cap space. So, yeah, all that is what it is. I don't really know where to go from there because, I mean, like I just said, if they get big free agents, then I'm thinking they would trade the 3rd pick, depending on who they got. But if they didn't, then they would keep the 3rd pick. So, basically, RJ Barrett will just allow them to either be something, even if they don't get the players they really want this offseason. They have some young dudes, and you can just go with that. And you can still sign free agents, whether they're veterans to help you out right now, even if they're not like, Kevin Durant or whatever. That's all something. Yeah, I mean, basically where I'm at is, again, it's not the 1st pick, but RJ Barrett still gives you a pretty good either consolation prize or trade asset or whatever the hell else. So take it as a win because you certainly could have fallen way outside of the top 3.